YouTube decided I'm no longer allowed to use the music in my intro, so now, until I find another one, you're stuck with my voice.
Here we go again. What is up, guys? This is Olympio coming at you with a video on something that's cropped up most recently of the last ARG that's just gone. Some certain card choices that a certain Mr. Patrick Hoban decided to play, and just the impact that it's had. Talk about the impact that it's had on the community, the Yu-Gi-Oh community as a whole. And it never ceases to amaze me that how this community seems to get fed like random crap every day from these pro players. They will just eat it up like it's the word of God. Now, I'm not saying that Patrick Hoban is wrong in everything he says, but there are some things that are misconstrued that people say, that people get from his points. So let's go on to the discussion of Upstart Goblin and Reckless Greed, and how everyone is putting it in every deck possible. If this is a new thing for some people, then I do question you playing the game, because I didn't know that it required someone to tell you that if you put in cards that allow you to draw more, you will get to cards that you need more. That's kind of always been around, you know, that's always been there. That's just, you know, common sense. The thing that I don't like is that these cards don't necessarily fit into every deck. So let's take Upstart Goblin for example. Upstart Goblin, draw a card, give your opponent 1,000 life points. So if you play 3 of them in your deck, you're going to give your opponent 3,000 life points. Okay? It's quite a considerable amount. The thing that makes the card good and the thing that makes the card bad is the way that you use the card and how your deck can interact with those 3,000 life points. Yes, you can draw those 3 cards, but take that out of the equation. The fact you're giving your opponent 3,000 life points, a good old reverse Diankito effect. The fact that you need to drill through an extra 3,000 of their life points is the big question of whether you can do it or not, whether your deck can actually do it or not. So decks that the card that might be good in. So for example, you could look at Dark World. Dark World's constantly spawn out a 3,000 monster just out of nothing. So there's one attack, there's the Upstart's gone. That could work. And they can summon multiple ones. So, you know, 3 Graphers, 3,000 and 9,000 life, not a problem. Heretics could use it. Heretics already quite tight on their on their deck space. But, you know, someone could, if they wanted to do a turbo version, could put Upstarts and Recklesses in. Not a problem if they just keep it down to the very core deck of Heretics, just the very core monsters, then that could work. But I've started seeing people on testing, I've been testing different decks, I've started seeing them put Upstart in everything. And it doesn't make sense to me, because the decks don't have that much power and OTK-ness to be able to push through those 3,000 life points like they were nothing. You need, in my opinion, Upstart works well in a deck if you can punch easily over 3,000 attack per turn, you know? So you need big boss monsters and regular attacks, regular pushes. Because if you're giving, for example, if you're playing against Five Fists and you give your opponent an extra 3,000 attack, that deck consistently has a lot of back row and very annoying monsters to get past. So unless you can use something to stop their back row, like Trap Stun or Royal Decree, unless you can use a card like that and not get touched by their effects, then it might be good. But I've just seen so many decks that just fall short and get absolutely trounced because they cannot whittle down that extra 3,000 life points that they've given their opponent, because they've drawn into nothing that they needed. They could have used something in its place that would have helped them maybe, and it's just a big mess, to be honest. Reckless Greed is another one. Reckless Greed is an interesting one. In my opinion, the card needs to be put in a deck that doesn't really matter if you're not going to be drawing, obviously, because in an ideal world, you'd get 3 Reckless in your opening hand and you'd be, great, that's fine. Can settle those 3, I'm only going to not draw for a turn, basically, 2 turns, basically. But it's not always the case. And it's very rarely the case, in fact. The deck needs to be able to survive without those draws. Again, going back to, for example, Dark World. Dark World can happily survive without draws, because then they can just get that Grapher back. They can summon the monster, send it back, still have the card in the hand with a beater. So Dark World worked very well. You could put it in Heretics as well, because the fact that the deck goes OTK, the fact that you main Trap Stuns, it works very well. So getting those extra 2, 3, or 2, 4, or 8, 6 cards doesn't really affect you as such, because you've got all those OTK potentials in your deck. You're getting all those monsters. You've most likely drawn a trap stun to stop your opponent's face downs, and you've got enough heretics in hand. You only need about 3 or 4, so you're gonna be good there. But decks that just randomly splash in reckless, it just doesn't make sense to me. I think it's reckless, no pun intended, that people are just deciding to put these cards in, and it's all down to Patrick Hoban, and it's all down to these pro players who have put a card in a deck that it might work in. All of a sudden people are jumping on the card, the price goes up, everyone thinks it's the best card in the game since Blue Eyes. Why not? Let's say that, back in the day. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I do question logic that some Yu-Gi-Oh players have in the fact that, going back to my original point, they think that if someone popular says something, it's the voice of God saying that you must do this, and you must get these cards, and you must play them in every single deck possible. I just don't get it. Like, there are certain decks that can utilize these cards in certain ways, but it's not for every deck, and it's not for many decks, to be honest. Reckless and Upstart going dark can go in Dark World, Heretics, Exodia, Chainburn, not Upstart and Chainburn, Reckless and Chainburn. But there are very few that it can actually properly fit in. So that's it, guys. I want to know what you guys think about the cards. Do you play them in any other certain deck? Do you think it works? Do you think it doesn't? Basically think this is just another, this will be over in a week. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you later.